Hey folks, welcome to Unqualified, the fantasy football podcast that's been sopping wet since 2017. I'm your producer, Rob Diesendorf, here with Sean Brady and Scott Johnson, two fantasy football rivals that have been sabotaging each other for years, but they decided to come together to help you win your league and make your friends look like idiots. How's it going, fellas?
Soppingly.
You both sopping?
Soppingly. It's going, man. It's going. Another day, another week, another fantasy football crazy week.
I went to vote today, and I felt like the gods were conspiring against my vote for some reason. I stepped out of the school to get into my car to go vote at a different school because it would be too easy for my polling place to be the place I work. Of course. Anyway, I walk out of the building, and it is torrentially downpouring. My brand new boots, DSW boots, were soaked within 30 seconds, and I was just like, "You got to be kidding me! Like, this is the worst." I literally contemplated going home. Went anyway. I was very scared because they kind of look like suede, but they're not. They're some type of other material. So luckily they dried off quickly.
Oh, shit.
Got the vote in, but yes, sopping is definitely the best way to describe today.
Yep. I drove to my office today in the rain, and I was wearing shorts because I don't know why. And I was just dressed in athletic gear, basically. And the second I park my car, I think about going to grab the handle, it just starts downpouring. Same situation. And I don't know who's coming after us. I don't know if they're trying to stop the pod, but they'll never stop the pod.
They'll never stop it. We'll never give up. Good
Scott
luck.
had the worst day of all time today.
Yeah. Wow.
And he dropped his phone. What happened? You dropped your phone in a puddle?
Yeah, so to top off, we don't have to get into the minutia of the daily antics that happened today, the sopping daily antics, but suffice it to say, I'm ready for Wednesday, and November sucks. I've said this all along. November is my least favorite month. It is the worst month of all time, and it could go die in a hole. Anyway.
It's not a great month.
It's not good. Thanksgiving is way too good for November. It feels like it's a relationship that November is just, they're mentally abusing Thanksgiving, and they're like, no, you can't leave me. You can't do it. And Thanksgiving's
that was a good point.
Thanksgiving's like, but you don't treat me well. You suck. And November's like, no, I don't fucking care. You're staying with me. When meanwhile, October is just October should be Thanksgiving. Anyway,
I was going to say, it's also kind of flirting with December because it's so late in November. It's like, oh, December is hanging around. It could always, move in another week later and make December the best possible month. But exactly. No, it's stuck in November.
What should really be happening, and this was a great point by you, Scott, is that Halloween should be the third Thursday of October, and then Thanksgiving should be at the end of October.
Totally agree.
That's what really should be going on.
Can we petition for that? That's a thing that should happen immediately.
I think we could. Or we just make a second Thanksgiving, and then everyone just forgets about the original.
I was going to say, but if you do that, you just need to cross off November from our calendar and
that's
just get
fine.
rid of it.
That's fine.
And that is fine.
Honestly, get rid of January while you're at it. Might as well.
Yeah, January sucks too.
Yeah. There's really two very blasé months.
Right. November. Wow. Ooh.
Good word.
Sopping word. That's a sopping word right there.
Supple.
But yeah, so to get back to my theory about November, it sucks. Move Thanksgiving, and I dropped my to top off the rest of the stuff that happened today, which we're not going to get into. The path was suspended as soon as I got to the station and used my card. Literally a minute after that, it was like, "Hey, path suspended." I was like, "Oh, that's good." I just spent. It's not a big deal. It's $2.50, but whatever. Who's counting? So I'm sitting in the path for a half an hour, and they're announcing, "Yeah, it's suspended. It's still suspended. Get out." And it was suspended for another hour. So I was like, "All right, I'll just take an Uber." So it's pouring rain out as I'm waiting for this Uber, and the guy's pulls up to a puddle. I have my umbrella and my phone in my hand. I open the door. Of course, the phone falls out right into a dirty, disgusting Manhattan puddle right by Penn Station, which is it's really dirty.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
So then I picked it up really quick, and I was just vigorously wiping it on my clothes, which got all dirty and disgusting and smelly. So
Have you ever dropped a headphone on the sidewalk?
Yeah. Oh,
that
that's
is
gross.
terrifying.
You can't go back.
I dropped
Nope.
one of my headphones in the subway, and it started bouncing. It started bouncing towards the yellow strip, and I was like, "Oh, no!"
It's like Rory Scovel with the frisbee again. This is the second week in a row we're saying that.
My life went into slow motion, and it just and it just rattled to the edge and stopped.
That's disgusting. That's
kind of
horrid.
like my fantasy team.
Wow.
That
Nice.
makes
Yours
no
aren't that
sense.
bad though.
You put up
Does that make
170
any
points on me this week. I don't want to
Yeah,
hear.
let's talk about
Oh my
record recap before we get into like
Mm-hmm.
our big themes of the week. Sean and I record recap. Rob, you're 8-10. You're almost at 500. Your teams are both 4-5. You're
baby.
kicking it, man, for playoffs. I'm very impressed.
Thanks.
And you put a beating on Sean. You almost put a beating on me in Hoboken League, and your team put up 171 this week. What was it?
Yep. I think it was 171.4.
Scott, I knew
I'm
it.
definitely wrong.
Scott, you know that I knew it because it was like an hour into Sunday's games. It was like 2:00, and I texted Scott. I was like, Rob had two players playing. I had like most of my. He had like two players playing, and he had Jordan Howard and Kareem Hunt. And I was like, Scott, I'm going to lose to Rob this week. Like, I can't believe it. And then the rest. I mean, James White, of course, is like
Of course.
the Achilles heel for Scott and I, and killed us. But we'll talk about him a little bit later too. But honestly, well-earned victory. You almost won the survivor pool. You're like breathing down my neck in the playoff race. It's going to be a lot of fun the rest of the year.
Yep.
Yeah, we're very
yeah.
qualified this year. Yeah,
We're neck and neck. I'm fully torqued.
fully torqued and sopping. If you only knew, Rob, how much Sean and I talk about you, about your team when we're playing you, it's insane. We never, it's always the three of us in a conversation. But then when it's like, Rob week, when one of us is playing you, it's like, what the fuck? Like, why is James White doing this?
So true.
It's funny because it feels very uneventful for me because I never
of course
hear
it
any
does.
of it.
Yeah.
It only gets eventful when I start trash talking you guys, and I didn't do that this week.
And then
The
we
only
could-
thing I sent, I thought I was going to lose to Sean because the freaking Chicago defense went nuts. And scored a ton of points.
Love them.
And I just looked and I was like, oh, fuck, I lost. I was like, what the fuck is this? This is bullshit. And so I texted you, and then I basically forgot about it because I was like, I definitely lost. And then I looked back like on Sunday night, and I was like, oh my God.
Oh, he's twisting the knife right now.
Twisting
He's
it right now
yeah,
so
oh,
hard.
God.
Because if only you knew the feeling that when Sean and I are vigorously texting like 4 each, like James White, bleh, bleh, bleh. And then all of a sudden we see, I mean, when I was playing you, this happened. You texted us in our group, and you just go, it's a matchup we're having here, and I'm just like, oh my God, that's the worst when I get a text from you when I'm talking about playing you. It's just, I feel I have an outer body experience. It's almost like me dropping a phone in a dirty, disgusting Manhattan pool.
I denied many trades for James White also. So you got to give me credit for that.
You did, yeah.
Smart
I
move.
sent you one. Very fair. The rest of the record, so Sean is freaking killing it. 18-9, 9-0 in OG, and then 4-5, 5-4 in the other ones.
Yes, and I'm in the playoff. I'm in the back end of the playoff picture in the other two leagues. Obviously, I'm probably going to wrap up the 1 seed in the OG league hopefully soon, but that Hoboken race with Rob is going to be down to the wire. I can feel it already.
Love it. Feeling them a plums. And then
I'm terrified.
so my record is 37-26
Why'd you say it like
Oh
that?
my God.
because it's too many freaking games.
That's true.
It's too many teams.
Yeah. Those numbers are terrifying to me.
Disgusting. Yeah, it keeps me up at night. It actually does because I put waiver claims in at like 1 o'clock in the morning when I wake up. Like last night,
Scott wakes up in a cold sweat like, oh God.
dude, I did. I
got a trade.
I woke up on my couch at 1:30 last night, and then I couldn't fall back asleep when I went upstairs finally. And I was like, yeah, I'll just put in some waiver claims. Put in waiver claims for tomorrow morning. Last night at 2 o'clock in the morning.
You're nuts,
Psychotic. Yeah.
dude. You're nuts, dude.
Thanks, man. So yeah, 7-2, 6-3. 7-2, 7-2, 4-5, 2-7 in Brady Bros. Not killing it, and then 4-5 in Spray Tan League. So, we're getting there. I just started to pick 'em, so we're gonna this episode before we get into our big themes of the week. This episode we're gonna each matchup we're gonna do a little appendage at the end and talk about spread and pick 'em. So I just started this pick'em.
Love it.
2 weeks ago.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, it's like what Vegas does. You bet on teams like, you know, if the Giants and Jets are playing and the Giants are -5, that means they're projected 5 points better, and if they cover, you know, we'll get into
Gotcha.
it. But
Gamblers, listen up.
Gamblers, listen up. I went 21-6 the last 2 weeks combined with the spread.
Wow.
So I'm gonna take that over the 37-26. I'm just kind of happy about that. Sean, you want to get into your big theme coming up?
Yeah, before we even do that, I was just going to maybe we should allocate a little bit of capital in the next couple of weeks. If we keep that up, I definitely am excited about those numbers. Fantasy-wise, here's what I like to do this time of year, because it's easy to get wrapped up in those like playoff races with your friends and this and that. What I like to do right around now, because this is when all the big bye weeks hit, injuries are killing your team, and this is where I think you really you understand fully what you have on your team, and you understand fully what you have on other teams. Usually you have guys that you wanted to trade for like the entire year, a la Keenan Allen for me, and you can identify the kind of guys you want on your team. So this is the time right now, not when the summer comes around, right now, to start taking notes for your draft next year. That way you don't have to do it over the summer. So what I like to do is, again, ask myself all these types of questions. What kind of guys do I wish I drafted? Keenan Allen, guys like that. What kind of guys did I pick up that are turning the tide for me? And what kind of guys did I miss picking up? And is there a trend of the type of guy you're either doing well with or missing out on? So for me, for example, we talked about him the last few weeks. James White is killing it this year for the Patriots, and Philip Lindsay is in the similar boat, obviously to a lesser degree. But for me, missing out on those guys for me this year is fine, because those two backfields have been so hard to predict year after year. We couldn't count on it. So it's kind of inevitable that someone that drafts like I do would miss those guys. But on the flip side, I'm kicking myself missing out on guys like Juju, Smith-Schuster, Brandon Cooks, Cooper Kupp. I only own Robert Woods on one team, so I kind of missed out on him also. Guys that are on offenses that I knew were going to click coming into the year, and I missed out on them because I was blinded by hype for guys like Amari Cooper, Corey Davis,
Doug Baldwin.
I even owned LaShawn McCoy for a hot second on one of my teams because I just forgot everything I've been talking about for the whole offseason. So those types of mistakes are the ones that I'm trying to clean up next year. So again, pick guys from those no doubt offenses, like the Rams, Chargers, the Saints, Patriots. Now I think the backfield will be a little more settled moving forward. Atlanta, Minnesota, all these, and Kansas City, obviously too, and Pittsburgh. If you pick a guy from one of those offenses, I'll just list off some guys right here. Every single player that I'm about to list has vastly outperformed their draft stock. So I'm not talking about they might be drafted a round ahead next year. These guys are absolute steals. And I'm including Michael Thomas here, who is a world beater and was going late second. So James Conner, Juju, Sammy Watkins, Mahomes, who we touted a little bit, Thielen, he's the type of guy I would have talked about last year, saying this guy came out of nowhere. We didn't give him the respect he deserved, and he's the type of guy I want on my team next year. Luckily, I did take him on one of my teams this year, and it is just a treat. So, Scott, do you have any of those guys that you're kicking yourself about this year?
Yeah, I mean, Doug Baldwin for sure. LaShawn McCoy as well. I have him in one league. But I want to talk about Thielen before you get into the other guys. I know you had some other guys. Thielen kind of, really quickly, kind of came out of nowhere, sort of like Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown was a 6th-round pick. Had a 1,300-yard, 7-touchdown year like Thielen did last year, and then all of a sudden exploded on the scene with 1,700 yards and 14 touchdowns. So similar, right? Yeah. Thielen was undrafted, kind of came out of nowhere. So, and they're high-octane offenses with quarterbacks that are going to be there for a while. So, sorry, a little side note on Thielen. I think he could be the number one guy for a couple of years. Yeah, absolutely. And again, you're looking at guys that for some reason or another are going to lose their luster in the offseason. I would not be shocked if James White was not picked in the first 4 rounds next year, but he's a guy that is a no doubt running back 1 right now, and he, just because of the people around him, might lose a little bit of luster. Similarly, all 3 Rams wide receivers, they were all in the 4th, 5th, 6th round area in drafts this year, and if you picked any of them, you feel good about it. So, for me, I looked at that and I said, I don't know which one it's going to be. I'm going to stay away. And it wound up killing me because I would love to have any of those guys, maybe even all 3 on my team. Yeah, it's good stuff as you look to the next year, almost preseason draft boards. Right. But good to keep in mind those like stats and trends that you're looking for now to help inform you for next year and even for a playoff push to a lesser extent. Yeah, so that's good for next year. The one takeaway that I want to dive into for week 10 or this intro to week 10 is trade season. So trade deadlines in most leagues is coming up November like 21st around there. So you got a couple weeks, but now's the time to do it and test out that new team that you had. So you have a few weeks to kind of put a Band-Aid on it if need be. So you got to think about guys with high upside for weeks 13, 14, 15, 16 to get you into the playoffs, get you the dance, and then potentially take your team over the top. So you got to look for like Dalvin Cook, buy low on guys like Aaron Jones, Kenny Galladay. The biggest thing, though, is not to overthink it. So you're still going to play your studs kind of regardless of matchup. The last thing you want to be doing is playing like getting cute and playing a Doug Baldwin or Courtland Sutton over an Alshon Jeffrey or Michael Thomas because of a bad matchup. You want to maximize your chances of hitting those home runs and getting your team those at-bats. And that's the way you're going to do that is hitting it with your studs and high-profile guys. We'll let you know if there's a matchup that's unbearable. So maybe like Alshon Jeffrey against the Jaguars 2 weeks ago. That was, he had like 3 for 30. Other than that, you don't want to overthink it. You don't want to get cute at this time, but you do want to trade for and buy low on guys that are high upside. Dalvin Cook, Aaron Jones, Kenny Galladay, who's not getting a ton of targets, but still is and could be the guy there with Golden Tate on. You could take some risks on like a Golden Tate that went to Philly, but you don't know how he's going to be utilized in that offense. So high upside guys, big names that have maybe kind of faltered this year, and that that's where you're going to get the most value out of trade season or trade deadline season.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the best, maybe the two best buys you can do right now are Leonard Fournette and Dalvin Cook. It might be too tough to get Dalvin Cook because, honestly, as a Dalvin Cook owner, after sitting through the last 9 weeks and finally seeing him perform well, like, you're not touching him. You're not getting him from my team.
Right.
But Leonard Fournette, like, that might be a week or two away. You might be able to just sneak in there right now, buy low, and reap the reward come playoff time.
Leonard Fournette, David Johnson, who's been underperforming.
Yep.
Guys like that. Keenan Allen on the Chargers, kind of been underperforming. He's like 22nd for wide receivers. He's not a wide receiver 1 right now at this stage. So guys like that, you want to try to trade for buy low or high octane guys that will have some value for their teams in weeks 13 through 17.
All right, before we move forward, let's look at the teams on bye for this week, and it's a little bit lighter than last week. We have the Ravens and Broncos, who are not exactly like fantasy powerhouses for you. I guess probably the best starter on those teams is Emmanuel Sanders. So you're not, I mean, again, you know how we feel about that guy, so it's not really like a team killer.
Yeah, I just traded for him. I don't know why I did it. I traded Nick Chubb for Emmanuel Sanders in a full point PPR. I need a wide receiver.
As much as I hate Sanders, I kind of like that deal. However, you're going to have to replace him for this week.
Yeah.
You're also, you're looking at like replacing Alex Collins and John Brown, both of whom I'd probably bench regardless of health. So those are those two teams. But on the other side, you have the Texans and the Vikings. So there's a lot of starters here that you're looking to replace between Deshaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins on the Texans. That's tough. That's tough to make up that production this week. And then on the Vikings side, all 5 of those starters you're looking to replace between Cook, who is finally back. Thank God the buys this week because I think he'll come back and be a monster down the home stretch. Thielen, Diggs, who also needs a week off to recover, and then Kyle Rudolph. So a lot of starters from those two teams to replace. Hopefully we can get through this week. There's only a few big bye weeks left, so we're almost through it. Okay, let's get into the primetime games, and we start with one of the best games of the week on Thursday night. Panthers at Steelers, and we're going to do things a little bit differently this week. We're going to add in the point spread, make a couple picks, make all the picks actually, and we'll probably highlight which games we think we feel most confident in. And this one is one that I think we both would agree we're pretty confident in one side of the gambling line. So when we list the gambling line, well, for example, for this one, the Steelers are favored at home by 3.5 points. What that means is if the Steelers win by 4 points, they cover. If they win by 3, the Panthers cover, and you win your money if you bet on the Panthers. So we're just going to bet against the spread on that, in addition to our normal fantasy outlook for the game coming up. So just an added wrinkle, I think, might spice things up a little bit.
Spicy matchups, yeah.
And this
Spicy Tiger Bomb everywhere.
This one would be absolutely in the game of the week contenders if it wasn't a primetime game. Thankfully, we're back to a good Thursday night game after the clunker that was last week's game. Two of the top teams in the NFC and AFC respectively. I would say they're probably a step below the cream of the crop in each of their divisions, but they're very good teams this year. They're kind of like overlooked teams as well. So on the Panthers side, North Turner has done wonders for this offense. Cam is making much higher percentage throws. He's a top-flight fantasy quarterback. I think he's top 5 right now, and that's no surprise given his rushing upside. McCaffrey has been lights out the last few weeks, putting the ball in the end zone. It's definitely a welcome sight. He has a tough matchup here, but I really like him moving forward. And then the Steelers, I mean, they're starting to click, and Le'Veon, he said he pieced out of Miami, so it might get very interesting moving forward. What do you think, Scott, of this matchup?
Yeah, this is like exactly like you said. You have like in the AFC, you have the Chiefs and the Patriots who are like the 1A, 1B, and then right there below them, you have the Steelers that are pretty much the third best team in the AFC, and then Panthers are the third best team in the NFC behind the Rams and the Saints. And it's funny, like both of these teams have gone through phases this season, unlike those 1A and 1B in each, where everyone's like the Panthers are done, the Steelers are done.
So
they both had these moments, and they've absolutely crushed it. So yeah, the Steelers have won the last 2 matchups by a total of 18 points here, and they are home. So I would expect a shootout and not a lot of defense here. Panthers defense, terrible play. Steelers defense also a terrible play here. But yeah, Cam, like you said, I was listening to the Ringer NFL show. I don't know if you were listening to it this week too.
Yep.
They were talking about how North Turner has changed that offense and maximized all of Cam's strengths. So running a little, in more space. They have some of the best skill position players too, and they're finally utilizing them. So Funchess is the main big target. Then they have DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel with out routes and running it, on the side and stuff like that, and triple options. So yeah, I think all of those position players, DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel, are deep league plays this week. McCaffrey's going to have a tough matchup this week, McCaffrey, but he's been killing it and finally adding touchdowns to his game. So that's something to, that's a very encouraging sign, whereas he had 1 touchdown in the first 7 games, I think. Funchess should have a great matchup here. Big Ben he's kind of a top 10 play this week. At home. He kills it at home. And one thing to watch for is his injury. He fractured his left index finger.
Ooh.
So it's not his throwing finger, but it's kind of a tough one. If he's still questionable in a game time decision, I would lower your expectations for Juju. Antonio Brown, you're plugging in regardless, but Le'Veon's not reporting, I don't think, before Thursday, and I don't think they would even play him. But yeah, interesting to note what they're going to do for the Jaguars in Week 11 once Le'Veon probably reports after this Thursday night game.
All right, so who are we picking against the spread? The spread is the Steelers are favored at home by 3.5. I personally am going with the Panthers. I know it's a tough matchup rushing for McCaffrey, but I think the Steelers linebackers is like the weak spot of that defense as far as like pass coverage goes. They're very good at rushing the passer, but I think Cam gets rid of the ball so quickly now with this new scheme that I think McCaffrey could do a lot of damage as a receiver, and for that reason, I think I'm picking the Panthers this week to at least cover. I think they could win outright as well.
Yeah, I think they're going to win this game. Honestly, I think Big Ben is a little more hurt than he fractured his finger. That's pretty shitty. And Le'Veon Bell is a little distraction. I know the team is like, we don't care about when he's coming back, but definitely adds a layer in there. James Conner should have a good matchup as well, or a good game, even in a tough matchup. But yeah, I'm picking the Panthers. I think they're going to win this game. They've been trouncing opponents. All
right, so we're in agreement there. Let's look at the Sunday night game, and we have the Cowboys at the Eagles. This is a classic NFC East matchup. On the Cowboys side, Zeke and Amari Cooper seem like a nice 1-2 punch. If only they had a good coach to utilize them. I'm shocked Jason Garrett still has his job. I know Jerry says they're not going to make a coaching change during the season, but you can bet your house they're making one in the offseason. I said this a few weeks ago to you off the air. You plug in Sean McVay with this team, they're like 12-4 because they have the personnel. They just don't use it correctly. So I can't even imagine what Zeke would look like in that system. Anyway, with that being said, Golden Tate is going to go off here. I really think he's going to fit in immediately because he's the kind of guy that you don't need to teach him all the intricacies of the playbook. He's just going to get open across the middle and just make plays after the catch. I think the Eagles definitely win this game. I forgot to mention the line before. They're favored by 6.5, so basically a touchdown favorite here. And for that reason, I don't think the Cowboys can hang with the Eagles. The Eagles need to make up ground in that NFC East race, and I think they're definitely going to have their way with the Cowboys on Sunday night.
Yeah, the Eagles are all in, and it just proves it by giving a third-round pick to Golden Tate. If that's what they think is going to get them to the Super Bowl, and they did that, I have confidence in the rest of the team. And the Cowboys losing to the Titans at home is kind of pathetic.
It is. It is pathetic.
Honestly, I know the Titans were off a bye, and they finally figured out to give the ball to Deion Lewis more and not Derrick Henry, but that's not. That was one of my losses this past week. Was
the Cowboys are off a bye also.
Cover. Yeah, right. Yeah, that's very true. Exactly. And they just got Amari Cooper, honestly, he is one of the best deep threats in the game still.
Yeah.
I know you look at his rookie and sophomore year. So he looks like he's going to be a focal point of their offense right now. It's still inefficient. It still wasn't too pretty. He had 5 for 58 and a touchdown because they were force-feeding him the ball. I think he's still a flex guy, so he has high upside. He can get 100 yards on a touchdown. But, yeah, Golden Tate, he has a salivating matchup here. I think Deion Lewis if you want to think about Golden Tate as like an extended running back here, Deion Lewis just had 4 targets, 4 catches, 60 yards, and a touchdown receiving. I think that's what Golden Tate could probably get here, too, and a couple more targets. Alshon Jeffrey, still a good play, even though Byron Scott is a pretty good shutdown cornerback. But Cowboys are only giving up 3.9 yards per carry to running backs, so none of the running backs are good plays, and they have lightning-fast linebackers. So tight ends in this game, it's going to be tough. I would still plug in Ertz, but be wary here. And then I have the Eagles to cover. I think they're going to win by at least a touchdown here.
Yeah, same here. I think they're going to blow them out. I think it's going to be over by halftime. So hopefully that works out that way. Especially Ryan Brady, the resident Eagles fan, will definitely be hoping that's the case on Sunday night.
Yeah.
I was looking at the Monday night game, and this one is like, it's nice that you put this in here. Like, it's 6-ish years ago, this was an NFC Championship game matchup, but now it's just like the battle for last place. The Giants going to San Francisco to take on the 49ers. 49ers are favored at home by 2.5. I mean, just based on the firepower alone, I'm picking the Giants here to win outright. I think they're going to do more than cover here. And between Saquon and Odell, I really think they're going to have their way with this 49ers defense, who really is just not very good. This seems like the kind of game that the Giants win to get their season total up to like 3 or 4. I don't even know where they're at right now, but they're not going to finish. They're not going to finish the season 1-15, and I think this is the type of game that's the reason why.
Yeah, and the spread is -2.5 to the 49ers. They're favored by that much, and I can see the Giants winning by a field goal. Can we just talk, though, about Nick Mullins, the third-string quarterback on the 49ers? Absolutely eviscerated the Raiders. That was another one of the losses I had last week, because I saw Mullins was in, and I was like, I'm picking the Raiders now. I changed my answer last minute, and he shredded for 3 touchdowns and like 22 of 27 or something like that. Who is this guy?
I have my own story. I own George Kittle on 2 teams in fantasy, and one of them I own him with Travis Kelce. I have both of them on the same team. So the one team, he's my only tight end.
Nice.
Obviously, I kept him in regardless. It's just based on the lack of depth at tight end. But I had him in my flex spot during the week, and then I saw that Nick Mullins was going to start. I pulled him out, put in Calvin Ridley, which wound up working out regardless. But I was kicking myself because Kittle went off with Nick Mullins, and I kind of like that connection. To me, what this shows is that if you just plug someone into Kyle Shanahan's scheme at quarterback, they will get the job done. With C.J. Beathard putting up numbers the past couple weeks, like Jimmy Garoppolo, I know we were kind of down on him, but next year, I think with a healthy body and a full season of getting his feet wet in this system, I think he could be a monster next year.
Get him some weapons on the outside. Seriously, get rid of Garcon. What's his name? The fastest guy in the NFL.
Oh,
He's kind of underwhelming. Goodwin. Not really number one wide receiver.
You know what I need more of? I need more Kendrick Bourne. Elite name. Kendrick
Bourne.
Jesus Christ, it's Kendrick Bourne.
Yeah, so check that name out on deep leagues for all those people out there. But yeah, I think I have the Giants winning this by at least 3, so covering or winning outright. Sorry. But yeah, Breida he's still only a flex play. Raheem Mostert is on the IR. He broke his arm, so he's kind of the only guy because Alfred Morris clearly isn't trusted in that backfield. So this is a good matchup for him. Adrian Peterson just shredded the Giants 2 weeks ago for 160-plus yards. So I think Breida can have a really good game here. But yeah, I have the Giants winning. Odell and Saquon will get theirs, but nothing else.
So we're in lockstep right now. We each picked the Panthers, the Eagles, and the Giants in the first 3 games. Hopefully we
Yeah.
we disagree a little bit in the next section.
Ooh, one thing about the Giants, too. So I don't know if this is going to happen, but I'm just speculating here. If the Giants lose this game for whatever reason, and they're 1-9 at that point?
Yeah.
1-8?
1-8.
Which is, it's totally a possibility. 49ers just trounced the, I don't know why I'm saying that word so many times tonight. Trounced. I don't know if that's a word, but the 49ers just
Sopping
kicked the crap out of the sopping Raiders. So they could very well beat the Giants in this. I just think the point spread, it kind of makes sense. But if the Giants eventually decide to sit Saquon just to not get him hurt, because he's literally the only guy there on that team besides Odell, might want to pick up Wayne Gallman just on the off chance that happens. So maybe you're in like the championship or, I don't know, the second round and the Giants are out of it. I think it would be smart of them to sit Saquon, who is literally their future for the next 10 years, and not potentially injure him.
Ooh, that could be heartbreaking for Saquon owners. Just remember, Pat Shurmur does not care about your fantasy team.
Clearly doesn't. Just on the back burner. Keep it on the back burner. Not saying it's going to happen, but you never know with Pat Shurmur.
Okay, let's get into the quick hitters. Remember, this means we have one or two fantasy relevant teams here, and sorry to say it, but our hometown Jets hosting the Bills.
Oof.
Both these teams are fantasy irrelevant, so this is brutal. Like, the Giants 49ers game is really bad. Don't get us wrong, but this is the 1B as the
bottom of the barrel.
The
this
bottom
is like 1Z.
of the trash can. Yeah, this is just terrible matchup. I don't think I'll watch a second of this game as much as I love the gangrene. I really can't say enough how terrible this matchup is. Let's just put it.
It's just bad.
Is there a single usable player here for fantasy? Maybe Crowell and LaShawn McCoy if you're getting hammered on bye weeks for running backs, but you don't want any part of this game. Let's just be real there. I do think that the Bills defense is no joke. Unfortunately for them, their offense is like one of the worst in the history of the league. So the Jets favored by 7.5. They got to win by more than a touchdown. I don't feel comfortable with that, but I cannot in good conscience pick anyone playing quarterback for the Bills. I know Sam Darnold threw 4 picks last week, but he's immensely better than whoever they scrounge up to play quarterback for the Bills. So for that reason, I'll pick the Jets to cover.
Yeah, any quarterbacks in the Buffalo area golfing at the present moment that they could pick up, you think?
I don't think anyone golfs in the Buffalo area.
No, not in the Buffalo area. Maybe not this time. Well, that was how they got Derek Anderson. I don't know if he was golfing in Buffalo, but anyone golfing that used to play quarterback for the NFL anywhere right now.
I'm pretty sure the Buffalonians golf in blizzards.
Oh yeah, that's true. Bills Mafia definitely golfs in snowstorms and hail. Yeah, I wouldn't put it past them. Couple fun stats here. LaShawn McCoy has in the last 3 games, I believe, has 24 rushes for 24 yards.
Yep, that's why I traded him.
Yeah, that's fun. So PPR leagues, he's a little better, I guess, but wow, brutal. Let's see what else. Crowell, He's very uninspiring. And besides that big game against Denver, I think that was, for like 211 yards, he hasn't done anything. I think he's gotten less than 50 yards in 3 games straight. And if they're throwing 4 picks, I'm sorry. I love Darnold still, but whoa, I'm still on the Darnold train for sure. Because I think long term he has a lot. He's going to bring a lot to that franchise. But 68 quarterback rating right now, 4 interceptions. You can't really do anything with that. Run game doesn't do anything. Chris Herndon is a low end tight end 2, but he's just not getting targeted enough to be even rosterable. So he's a bye week filling guy if you're missing Kyle Rudolph this week or any of those other tight ends or something.
Yeah, and like for some reason our center literally in Top Gun when I think it's not Goose, it's Cougar. Cougar loses his edge. Like he's 30,000 feet in the air and he loses it and has a panic attack. That happened to our center this week and he couldn't snap the ball correctly. So good. That definitely is not a good situation to put a rookie quarterback in. Just saying, regardless, it says a lot about the Bills that we're still picking the Jets over them at this point.
Barely. Over under. So two questions. Who's going to have more interceptions, Nathan Peterman or Sam Darnold? And over under 6 total interceptions for this game.
Well, I don't think Nathan Peterman gets a chance to finish the game if he does start it. You can't. There's no way
Well,
they trot him back out. Like it just,
yeah, but they don't have anyone else. They have Derek Anderson, who's in the concussion protocol. Maybe he'll get cleared, and then Josh Allen, his elbow is falling off of his bone. Like he's hurt too. Unless they sign someone else or they trade for Nick Mullins. They can't trade for him anymore. Never mind. Trade deadline's gone. Sorry, Bills, but what are you going to do? Like, you got to play Peterman, I guess.
I would definitely say that as much as I love Sam, he's going to throw more picks because I think if Nathan Peterman starts this game, they're going to end the game with no core. Like, they're going to start running the Wildcat because there's nothing else they could do.
I have an idea. They find Christian Hackenberg and sign him.
Oh, my God.
And this is a Christian Hackenberg revenge game against the Jets.
I feel like we get a revenge game every week. That would be a lot of fun.
That'd be a great one.
All right. We've talked about more than enough about that game. Let's move on to the Jaguars at the Colts. And this one is like on the cusp of like almost graduating from the quick hitters because there are some usable pieces on both offenses in terms of fantasy. The Colts are favored at home by 2.5 points. So basically a field goal there. On the Jag side, if Fournette comes back, we could see a little resurgence a la Dalvin Cook this week. So I'm excited about that. And then on the Colts side, I mean, Luck is a plug and play. Doesn't matter who the matchup is. I like both tight ends as starters. They both will vulture from each other, which kind of sucks because it was really fun to ride the Ebron train while it lasted. But you know, I really like this Colts offense as we move forward for the rest of the year. I do think they're going to put up points, but I don't think that their defense, as improved as it is, they're not going to stop anybody, including the Jags, who will once and again have like a random outburst of like 35 points. And I think this is one of those weeks.
Yeah, a couple of like specifics. So these two teams are trending in opposite directions. Obviously, the Colts are down. The Jags are on the way down. Colts are on the way up. Jags won last year, both matchups, 27-0 and then 30-10. So I don't think that tells the full story of this year. I think it's going to be kind of opposite. Jags are just on the way down. But TJ Yeldon is still, he's still going to be the PPR back. So technically on the depth chart, he might be third. But you have Leonard Fournette, who's a plotter, and Carlos Hyde, who kind of has stone hands, sort of. They're going to be the first and second down guys. I think in catch-up mode, it's still going to be TJ Yeldon. I think it's a huge risk, so I think you got to sit him. But that's the running back situation I foresee. I don't think I like Fournette as a buy low candidate. Carlos Hyde got 6 carries for 10 yards before their bye. Brutal. And you just can't trust any of them. D.D. Westbrook has a good matchup. He's a daily fantasy throw, like dart throw kind of. And then, yeah, you're plugging in Luck. Doyle and Ebron are just going to vulture from each other. I think one guy that won't get back on track this week after one catch for 36 yards is T.Y. Hilton. Another week, and then he'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't been putting up the yardage he normally does. So, again, it's a little bit of a disappointing year. Yeah, he's putting the ball in the end zone a little bit more, but it's not nearly enough for him to be dependable. He's honestly in that flex territory right now. So.
Yeah, he definitely is. And then the spread is minus 2.5 for the Colts, so I have them covering this. I think they're going to win by at least a touchdown.
I think that this division makes no sense, and I think the Jags are gonna win this game outright. I think they're gonna go into Indianapolis.
Wow.
And I think we're gonna get that random like Blake Bortles. He's gonna throw everyone off the scent. You know, he's gonna make everyone forget that they need a new quarterback next year for like
very well
week.
Could happen.
And so I see that happening as we continue to muddy the picture in that AFC South division. So.
And Leonard Fournette coming back and powering through that Colts front seven, that could very well happen too.
Yeah. So let's look at
that's true.
That could be an interesting game. This one that we're about to talk about will not, and that is I can say this with 100% certainty. The Cardinals going to Arrowhead to play the Chiefs, and this point spread like it's 16.5. You could not tell me a number that I would not still pick the Chiefs. So like if it was like 25, I think I would still pick the Chiefs here. Honestly.
Probably would too. Yeah.
You're playing all the Chiefs. Patrick Peterson is not. He's not the player he once was, and regardless, like. He can't run with Tyreek Hill, and what are you going to do? Just like sacrifice Sammy Watkins for the entire week? I doubt it. I think they're going to probably move him around a little bit. I'm not really worried about that. I think the Chiefs, you're playing all of them, and then I really like Christian Kirk. I like him even more next year, honestly, but he's an interesting play for that Cardinals offense.
Yeah, I think Christian Kirk and Larry Fitz are both. They're going to have a lot of catch up in this game. The Chiefs are going to put up 24 straight points in this game. In this game, I think. Yeah. And Josh Rosen, maybe he has a deep league resurgent game against Chiefs team that's in a defense that isn't really good against the pass. But I don't see them getting even close to 16.5 points. Chiefs are going to blow this team out.
It's time for the mailbag. That's the segment where me, Sean, and Scott breathe heavily for 10 minutes, and then it's over. Are you ready, fellas?
Ready.
This mailbag, I mean, we had the mail was flooding in.
It really was.
We just
almost too much.
I don't know if we're actually even going to be able to get to all of the letters that we got from people. But keep them coming because maybe we'll start answering more on Instagram.
That works.
If we can't make them on the show, maybe we'll answer on Instagram. But we gotta. Either way, you guys know what to do. Stay active in the channels and leave a review. Ooh,
nice.
That rhymed. All right, let's get into it. All right. Our first letter comes from Chris in Manhattan. And it's a very important question. He asks, who is your 6-man Pokemon lineup for battle?
Oh, yeah. I spent way too much time thinking about this. I think there's a new Pokemon game coming out for the Switch at some point, which is getting me fired up a little bit. Definitely excited to relive my my childhood there. Okay, so I'm going to take you on a ride here. My number one Pokemon and my quarterback, if you will, of this squad is Blastoise. And yes, I'm picking him over Charizard. I know it's controversial, but
no, not at all.
There's a reason for it. Blastoise is a fucking tank. And on top of that, I like to have a nice balance of types in my battle lineup. And the one that's my irrational love for a Pokemon, he's not the best, but I have to have him, is Arcanine. So I can't have two fire guys that are just going to get lit up by, whatever water type my opponent has. So Blastoise and Arcanine, those are my top two. That's my Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell of this team. Growlithe, I just got to say, would be my number one Pokemon to start with. People go nuts over Pikachu and Charmander. No, if I could start with Growlithe, I would. So Arcanine, definitely in there. And then for the rest of the lineup, I'm just thinking about who is the most intimidating if we were to get off a bus and start walking into a stadium. Who is, who makes my opponent just quake in their boots? And Gengar, I mean, you got to go with Gengar. He's much better than that spoon-wielding bitch Alakazam. That's all I got to say about that. So if you're
Gengar's a bad mofo.
Oh yeah, he literally has a move called Dream Eater. So sign me up for a battle.
Damn, that's such a sick move. That's a sick.
Damn.
So that's a no-brainer for me. Machamp, I can't think of a better intimidation factor than
took
Machamp.
one of mine.
With his 4 arms. Get out of here. You're not beating a Machamp. It's just not happening. Electrode, a little under the radar here. He's not that strong. He's kind of he's just a ball, but there's a reason I picked him. Okay. One, I need an electric Pokemon, and I'm not really big on Pikachu and Raichu and Jolteon or whatever else there is. Electrode, if things go south for you, and there's somebody on the other team is killing your lineup, put out Electrode and just self-destruct. Just take one for the team. You take an eye for an eye, and then you just go about your battle. And my secret weapon, Snorlax. Snorlax he may be the hardest one to capture and carry around because he's 3 tons literally, but he's the ultimate innings eater. He is, if you get in trouble and you need to go figure out a new strategy, you just put in Snorlax, let him just take some hits while you reassess and you go back about your business. So I think with these 6 I get a nice balance here, and then as long as Blastoise comes to play, which he always does, I'm pretty confident in my squad.
Wow. I love it.
I went in on that.
Yeah,
I really
you
thought
did.
hard about that.
Yeah, I'm actually a little scared of research you put into that.
You could say that. So
my Pokemon. My Pokemon.
Are we talking? So we're talking about original, red, blue, yellow.
Oh yeah, I didn't even. I just assumed.
Okay,
we're going original.
All right.
Any.
So I have. I kind of did this. I didn't do it last minute, but it's tough because I didn't really play I did play the originals, but I wasn't good at them. So I was more of a Sapphire Ruby guy. So, came out a couple of years after that. So I'm thinking I don't have too much I don't have too much information on them, but I'm just gonna go with Blastoise because you always want to go with the water Pokemon to start because they can get ice.
Oh yeah.
Ice moves like Ice Beam, and when you're playing your opponent, because they always take the leaf Pokemon. If you're getting the water one, you can get ice, which is super effective against leaf.
Ooh, I didn't consider that. That's
Yeah,
nice.
yeah. So you always go water Pokemon, always, in the beginning. Then I'm going Machamp because he's badass. You got to go Gyarados. I know there's 2 water Pokemon. It might seem weird, but you do need to keep into consideration. I don't know if the red and blue Pokemon had Dive as one of like the HPs, like the moves. You had Surf, and then I guess they didn't have Dive. But you have like Flash, and Gyarados can learn Flash because you need stupid Flash, which doesn't do anything. But
I will say, I got to add in, Gyarados is a nice intimidation factor coming
always Machamp and Gyarados, and then you throw an Onix in there too. Another badass. Arcanine, yes. I like Arcanine, and you need a fire Pokemon in here. And then I'm always between Zapdos and Articuno, those like legendary birds. Because
Articuno's cooler.
Articuno is cooler, but I already have like an ice, mix with Gyarados and Blastoise. So I'll go with Zapdos because electric Pokemon are always super effective against flying Pokemon, but Zapdos is both. You can't get them. Can't get them with that.
That's a cheat code.
Yeah, right. Little cheat code.
I have a question for you. Can someone explain the physics of Onix? It's like a huge pile of
Magnets.
rocks. It's like floating. Also,
no, you know what it is? You ever see Avatar, the movie? It's the floating rocks, the floating rock mountains that they fly
you know what
through.
It is?
That's what that is.
It's horse girl energy.
Ooh, that's what it is. Yeah, good
holding
call.
the rocks together.
Great call on that.
Yeah. My lineup would be Geodude, Bulbasaur, and Pikachu.
Do you want to explain?
The Geodudes form a protective barrier around Bulbasaur and Pikachu, who send fury at their enemies from the eye of the Geodude storm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But I do have to admit, I'm a little over this whole people being like into Pokemon thing. So, Chris, I know you're into it, buddy, but I'm not. I don't know. It's losing its luster for me, because people are just. It's becoming too much of a trendy thing for people to like be into,
Did you just call him Chris?
There's so much. Yeah, there's so much that you can get into out there, and you just maybe don't spend so much time on Pokemon. I didn't call Sean Chris. I'm talking. This is Chris's question, dude.
Oh,
you don't even listen.
I thought you were talking. I thought you were calling Sean Chris. Anyway, sorry.
Anyway, that's my final statement on Pokemon. From here, we're gonna move on. No rebuttals because I don't want to. I don't want to be proven wrong.
Cool.
Next one comes from Brendan in Queens. Oh wow. What is your position on the role of government in supporting innovation in the field of biotechnology? This one came out of left field. Thanks, Brendan.
I pass. I cede my time to you guys.
I'll go with government shouldn't interfere, and that's all I have to say about that.
I'm really feel unprepared for this one, but recent research has shown that empirical evidence for globalization of corporate innovation is very limited, and as a corollary, the market for technologies is shrinking. So, as a world leader, it's important for America to provide systematic research grants for our scientists. I think we can all agree on that, and I believe strongly that there will always be a need for us to have a well-articulated innovation policy with emphasis on human resource development. Thank you. So we'll move on to Andrew from Kings Park. His question is, what are the best fruit snacks?
Oh, man.
I'm sorry.
We're just going to pretend that didn't happen?
Yeah, what?
Well, we got more important questions. Andrew wants to know what the best fruit snacks are.
Okay, if you must ask, I will say the Scooby-Doo ones, but only that blue one. It's like light blue, and it tastes different than the rest of them. So that's my very specific answer.
Forgot about those. Okay.
That's weird that you said that because that's exactly what I was going to say. Because I was going to say Welch's are a good choice if you want the closest to life taste, the closest to real life. If you want natural flavors, however, there are Scooby-Doo options that are not natural tasting, but they're still delicious. And then what I was going to say was that any gummies that have like a cream look to them are crack.
Oh, yeah. That's the blue one.
Those are the best ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
So, I don't really know. I mean, I forgot about the Scooby-Doo ones. I don't really know too many brands besides Welch's, so Welch's.
Yeah. All right.
So I'm going to go
Thanks,
with.
Andrew, for that.
Good question.
Next one comes from Billy in Queens. Oh, no, wait. Oh, no, this is another one from Andrew. Sorry, wrong name. Should And so Andrew followed up with, should Jets fans be excited for next year or settle in for a couple of years of growing pains?
Yeah, like I said before, it's so tough. So he has a 68 QB rating right now. I don't know what his QBR is, but I'm sure it's worse than that. Usually is. I think he has 11 touchdowns, 14 picks on the year. I still believe in him. He just turned 21 before the season, like right before the season started. I think it was like June or July. He was 20 when he got drafted. So we knew he would have ups and downs. And here's the thing about quarterbacks. They don't really change once they're from college to the pros. So you look like Jameis Winston. He threw the ball. He turned the ball over a ton at Florida State. He does it now in the pros. Andrew Luck, same thing at Stanford. Does it now in the pros. Got hurt a lot. Does it now in the pros. So there's a lot of like trends that continue. And Darnold was, I don't want to say he was a turnover machine. He had moments of brilliance at USC, but he turned the ball over a good amount. And this is kind of weird sounding, and I think this is true. It sort of depends on the physics of the body, like of your hands. Like if Sam Darnold, if a quarterback doesn't have big hands, they can't grip the ball when they get sacked. They're more likely to fumble it. And interceptions is bad decisions. So on a more serious note, they need to surround him with much better talent at receiver, tight end, running back, O-line, literally everything on the offense. They need to kind of overhaul, and they need an offensive coach. They need like a Matt Nagy or from that went to Chicago. They need a Sean McVay that went to the Rams. Like they need that. So I'm not worried about Darnold.
I'm just gonna say it's not looking good, buddy. Andrew, I'm sorry to break it to you. Also, I have no idea what I'm talking about. So take that how you will.
I love that. That's good.
Nice.
That's a good answer. I
didn't mean to interrupt. Did I say Matt Nagy's name right? How do you say his name?
You said Matt Nudie.
Nudie?
Do you remember saying Nudie? Because that's what you said.
I did, didn't I?
Yeah. That was
bad
weird.
boy.
I will say, I agree, Scott, that we need to surround him with better talent at receiver, tight end, running back, O-line. The issue that I have is I'm seeing all these teams that are making this quick turnaround. Like, yes, if we got an offensive-minded head coach and made a couple of these changes, it would be great. But I think the window is smaller than people think. Like, yeah, Sam's just about to turn 21, but for us to be a real contender, we need to make a quick overhaul of this offense because the Rams did it in 1 year. Yeah, they already had Todd Gurley there and some pieces of that offensive line, but they brought in 3 receivers in that offseason. They drafted Kupp, they brought in Watkins, and then they had Cooks. Not Cooks. Sorry, they had Robert Woods. Signed from Buffalo, right? And then obviously this year they got Cooks. But they did that quickly, and we need to do the same thing. We need to make it a quick overhaul because the window between now and Sam Darnold's next contract is not that long. So we need to really capitalize it. We need to start that turnaround now. Maybe qualify for the playoffs, maybe be like in the contention for the playoffs next year, and then make the jump the year after. But we can't just sit around and say, oh, we're going to pick a center that's going to like get the yips in the middle of the game and not be able to snap the ball. That can't cut it next year.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think a couple of things, there's not that many tier 1 wide receivers that are going to be there in the offseason this year. So I think like the best one is probably Golden Tate, unless the Eagles re-sign him. But so I think you have like John Brown, like stuff like that. Like you're not going to have top tier wide receivers, so it's going to be tough. You got to trade for one of them. I think that the amount of money they have, they could make a run at Le'Veon Bell if he reports to the Steelers and has a full year this year. And he's kind of talked about how he might not mind going there. I think if that happens, it's going to be a floodgate for free agents to go to the Jets. Yeah, he's a locker room kind of problem, but I think that could help with getting some more guys and for a quicker turnaround.
All right, next one comes from Connor on Long Island. Do chickens have large talons?
I don't understand a word you just said, boy.
Napoleon Dynamite, shout out.
There you go. Napoleon Dynamite.
That was clearly a Napoleon Dynamite reference. Chickens do have large talons. Well, some of them. They are also some of the worst animals on the planet, but they are delicious.
Whoa. That's a hot take right there.
Moving on. Next one comes from James in Hoboken. Lemons or limes?
Limes. Okay, so you can look at it one way for like drinks, like if you want to put it in your drink. That's not what I'm looking at here. Think about all the foods that you put a lemon in, like fish. Fish with lemon, does that like make your mouth water? No, it doesn't. It shouldn't. If it does, there's something wrong with you. Think about all the foods you eat with limes. Delicious tacos, carne asada, tequila shots. I know I wasn't going to talk about drinks, but those are fun. Fish with lemon, no thank you. So for that reason, limes, absolutely over lemons.
So I took it as drinks, and I said limes and seltzer for the win. Lemons and regular water for the win. Little combo. If you get a little seltzer water and regular water, you get a little lemon and lime.
Oh,
you get a little mix and matching. Dirty little boy. And then I'm trying to lose some weight because I'm a fat asshole lately. So I put, instead of salad dressing, I get lemon and lime squeeze on salads. So that's for the win if you're trying to shed some libs.
Ooh, a little acid. Okay.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
exactly. Yeah. Got to be careful with the teeth, though. That really gets your enamel.
At first, I was going to say that this was going to be a tough question, but after both of your responses, I'm all in on limes. Limes are there, and they save me from tequila. And you're right; they go with a lot of delicious foods. Lemons, I don't like lemon to begin with.
I don't either.
Especially like lemon bars, like anything lemon flavored.
Ugh.
I'm just like, what the
Lemon
what
meringue
the fuck
pie.
Is this?
Ugh.
What are we really doing here?
Yeah.
What am I eating?
I feel like
Am
no
I
one likes
eating
it
a fruit?
though, when they eat.
Am
the
I
pies.
Am I eating a dessert? Am I eating a fruit? These are the things I don't know. And I don't like it. So limes. And we also had a rebuttal, or we had a comment in the DMs from Alex from Brooklyn also, who agreed. He said, it's limes, no contest. So Alex, looks like we're in agreement. Great,
Shout out, Alex.
Great job. Great job staying active in those channels, Alex.
I have a quick question on that, really quick.
Yeah.
Let's talk about pies. Are you eating a lemon meringue pie or are you eating a key lime pie?
Oh, key lime.
Key lime.
Key lime.
There you go.
Key
That's the
lime,
answer to
key
that
lime.
question right there.
Key lime. Yep. All right. All right, next question. Every day I have the same nightmare of being chased by a larger-than-life Nicolas Cage. That comes... Oh, shit. That comes from Danny in Queens.
Again, this isn't a question, but I will just say, let me know. I feel like we are possibly identical twins that were separated at birth, because that type of hatred of Nicolas Cage can only exist in someone with the same DNA as me. So, shout out to you.
Shout out.
Well done, Danny.
I mean, just maybe see a therapist. I don't know.
Yeah. You probably... Actually, yeah. That's a very... that's a concerning dream to have.
Yeah.
I feel like a dream with just regular Nicolas Cage would also be concerning.
True.
But at this point, I think you need to embrace the nightmare, and you need to tame the giant Nicolas Cage and ride him like a large beast through the land and force him to do your worst bidding.
Damn.
I think that is your move.
That's dark.
Maybe therapy before or after that. I don't know.
Or therapy during. I don't know.
Or during that, or maybe include the therapist in the dream. Our final question: if Guy Fieri didn't become a famous food person, what would he be doing right now? That comes from Mike in Brooklyn.
That's a great, fantastic question, and the answer is simple and easy. He would be a Disney Cruise Line hype man or like a DJ or something. But it's definitely Disney or some Caribbean cruise line. Can't you just see him wearing like a
Carnival.
Hawaiian t-shirt?
Oh, yeah.
Spiking the hair still. Maybe not frosted tips like he does, or maybe frosted tips still. And you get on a cruise and like you're settling into your room, and then an hour later it takes off and you just hear Guy Fieri get on the microphone and go, "Are you ready for some vacation?" You got, like, that's it.
Is that what
like
a Disney Cruise Line hype man is?
I don't know. I've never been on a Disney cruise.
I've never even
but
heard of that job title before.
I think they should make that, and Guy Fieri should quit his day job and do that. Because that's pretty funny. I would go on some, I don't know if I would go on a Disney Cruise Line, but I've went on one cruise before, and there's no hype man, but I feel like there should be.
I think Guy Fieri would have ended up in some sort of crack ring, or he would have traveled to Thailand and never came back. Like I almost
Finding
said
himself?
he'd be eating elephants. I almost said he'd be eating elephants and riding spicy food. but what I really meant was he'd be riding elephants and eating spicy food.
Yep. Or vice versa. You never know with him if he's trying
Or
to
maybe
find himself.
Maybe he'd be laying in a pile of crack in a crack den.
Or that too.
Oh, Guy. For me, I don't know the specific job, but I know he would be associated with Nathan Peterman. So he'd either be Nathan Peterman's agent or maybe Nathan Peterman's backup quarterback. Like, can you just see like him taking off like
his agent
taking off a Bills helmet and seeing like that spiky hair emerge? Like, I can see that. Throwing 4 picks, like making Nathan Peterman look like the second worst quarterback of all time.
Imagine
He's
him as
associated with him.
Imagine him as his agent,
Wow.
though, like handling reporters after a game that they lose like 50-0, and it's like, no, man, like he brought the team to Flavortown. It's all good.
Oh my God. Yes, that's it. We've cracked it. We've solved it.
We got it. There you go.
Wow. This may have been the best mailbag of all time.
That was a long
keep
one.
it coming, guys. This is great. Love that.
Make sure you follow us on Instagram because that is where we're going to be receiving the majority of our mailbag letters. And these letters can be anything. I mean, you heard the variety of what we had. Even if you just need to vent or you just you want to tell us a secret, whatever, you can do whatever you want.
I'm a little concerned that
Mailbag.
we've taken a big stand against Big Lemon. The Big Lemon industry is going to be coming after us.
Coming
So
at us.
Hopefully,
Yes.
Big Lime is a nice partner for us moving forward.
Sponsor us. What's a lemon?
Limes.
What's a lemon
Sponsor us,
company?
Limes. I don't know.
It's interesting. That's something we should look up.
Big Lemons sponsor us.
Sponsor us.
All right, let's look at the Tiger Bomb spicy matchups for Week 10, and we start with the LA Chargers traveling all the way down the road to Oakland to take on the Raiders. Always an interesting matchup. Chargers have won the last 3 of these games, and last year they won by at least 16 points, and this Chargers team is like even better. I'd say they're like pretty much in that territory of Steelers and Panthers, like we talked about earlier. I'd say they're in that tier, so I think they win this game handily here. I think Melvin Gordon trounces the Raiders this week.
Good word.
I mean, I really like Keenan Allen. I've been talking about him all season, and I think this is like the last possible week to get him. He gave a little taste of what he can do this past week, and you're going to see more of the same, especially against this just awful Raiders defense. So I like all of the Chargers on offense, including Austin Eckler. I like both Williams plays as like flex options. And Scott, a nice little alert here in the Google Doc. Might be time to pick up Hunter Henry. Just if you're desperate, if you have the ability to spare a bench spot for the next month, he could really do some damage if he comes back because this offense is clicking. I really really like that little tidbit you put in there about Hunter Henry.
Yeah, and it came out today that he's making a lot of quick progress. He tore his ACL in May, so it's a little on the early side. But if you think about it, 7 months, that's you're on the early side, but you're getting there. He's running without complication on the sidelines and on practice. So if you have an IR spot, even better. But if you have like a Kyle Rudolph who just has been sucking, Evan Engram, Jimmy Graham, those are the kind of guys like you want to think about if you have Hunter Henry. Check his status if you're comfortable with putting him on your team. If you have, I don't know, someone that's been horrible lately. I don't even know who you would have. John Brown,
like David Njoku. Oh, you're
David
talking about
Njoku. I'm talking about like any bench spot that you can like drop him for.
Corey Davis,
Corey Davis, Chris Godwin, like any of those guys that aren't going to do well the rest of the year. Why not take a chance on Hunter Henry if you have like one of those guys, Evan Engram or whatever, or David Njoku even. So yeah, I think the Raiders, they're one of the worst teams, if not the worst team behind like the Giants in the NFL right now. Juggernaut is still getting 15 to 20 touches. Could be a good matchup at home. I have a gut feeling this will be a little bit more competitive than people think. I think the Raiders just got embarrassed. And I think John Gruden knows exactly what he's doing this year. He's
punting.
He's basically punting the team away, and he's not going anywhere for like 5-6 years. I mean, 10 years is his contract, but they're not getting rid of him anytime in the next 5 years. And he wants his guys there, so he's going to wait until he can draft them top of the rounds next year. No wide receivers are good plays here. Jared Cook, 2 for 20 last week. But put him in. And Chargers, you're pretty much playing everyone. Tyrell and Mike Williams in deeper leagues as flex guys, and you're good.
All right, so the point spread here is the Chargers are road favorites at 10.5 points. So they'd have to win essentially by 13 points here to really, if we do the typical football math there. I still think I'm taking them regardless. It's, again, like the Chargers don't really play home games because they just get out. They have more fans from opposing teams in their own stadium. So, traveling like an hour to Oakland is really not going to do much to them. I think they're really going to win this game, and they're going to jump into that discussion of the top of the AFC very soon.
Yeah, I think the Chargers, after beating the Seahawks, it was close-ish, but they kind of beat them handedly. Like the Seahawks had no business being in that game at the end. And I got burned by the Raiders last week. I saw Nick Mullins, and my eyes lit up. I was like, yep, they're going to beat the 49ers at home, away even, at Candlestick, and that was a brutal call. And I think I learned my lesson. I think the Raiders are really, really terrible. And I'm still taking 10.5. The half is the issue there because if they win by, I don't know, that's the additional thing that kind of puts some folds into it. And I think a lot of websites are different right now, and it always changes throughout the week. But if it's 10.5, I think I'd still feel comfortable with the Chargers.
Yeah, I don't see the Raiders stopping them at all. So I feel comfortable with that as well. Let's look at the Patriots at the Titans. Patriots obviously rolling the Titans off that big win off the bye week against the Cowboys on Monday night. So, and Deion Lewis is starting to look like he's, the focal point of the offense, which is great for fantasy purposes. Yeah, thank God, because on my Hoboken team, I've gone through Sony Michel and Chris Carson as like my third running backs, and I've just been just eviscerated by injuries. There it is again. I'm going to make a point to use it every week. You used it earlier. I forgot to call you out for it. Nice
sorry,
work over
I did.
there.
Well, thank you.
But Deion Lewis looking like a usable piece again, which is great. And then on the Patriots side, like Josh Gordon with that huge touchdown, it looks like he's going to start to continue rolling as long as he stays clean, stays out of trouble. And then Edelman is another one of those steals of the year. Again, you pick guys from good offenses late in drafts in the summertime. When November rolls around, you're going to really feel good about it. That's if somebody drafted Julian Edelman, that's how they feel right now. You're definitely plugging him in. He's a lot of fun to watch every week. So I think the Patriots, despite being on the road, despite being having to eat 6.5 points, I still think the Patriots cover that. And the Titans are not as good as people think they are after that win.
Yeah, a lot of stuff about the Patriots I want to cover. So Josh Gordon, that big touchdown was encouraging, yes, but it didn't look like that ball was going to him. I think he overthrew, I don't know if it was Edelman or someone else. Yeah, so it wasn't really intended for him. I think it still counted as a target for him, and obviously it was a 60-yard bomb or 72-yard touchdown, so that was 13 points of Josh Gordon's 19 or 20 for standard leagues. Still encouraging, but that's a little wrinkle in it, but he still did get 10 targets, so that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
They didn't have Gronk in this game, and I'm not trying to... I don't remember if I said if Gronk was going to have an off year. I think I did.
You probably
did.
Say
That?
Yeah, I feel like you always say that, and you're usually right. Last year, not quite, but this year, spot on.
Last year, he killed it. Yeah, I was wrong on that. I think this year, he has had 1 or 2 touchdowns. Kind of brutal. Kind of like a Keenan Allen season almost, where no touchdowns are happening. But yeah, I think Deion Lewis is a guy to play. Belichick does account for guys like him, and he used to have Deion Lewis, so that's going to be an issue for this team. I think Mike Vrabel is still a good coach. He's a gritty coach.
Yeah.
And here's the thing about the Patriots. They are insanely good. They always evolve their game. Cordero Patterson is a pickup this week.
Yeah.
As long as Sony Michel is out, and it was genius putting him in the backfield because, and I heard this is a homage or shout out to the Ringer NFL show, Mays and Clark, again, because they had mentioned that Patterson is obviously one of the best kick returners in the game. Running the ball is more like kick returning than receiving, obviously. You're going lateral. You're looking for a hole. You're looking for somewhere to go into, and based on your blocking. Patterson is never really a wide receiver. He's not a great prototypical wide receiver. And at Tennessee, he was a running back there too. He ran the ball a lot, so it was genius by Belichick. I think he's a good play here if Sony Michel is out again, because he's a running back and wide receiver on ESPN, so they added that in there. So yeah, so you could put him in pretty much anywhere in your lineup. But teams rarely go 14-2. I think the Patriots are going to lose this game. I think Vrabel is going to figure out a way to get them winning. Patriots just had a tough, not a tough matchup, but one of the tougher matchups against Green Bay, and they're going on the road to Tennessee, who's surging after a bye week and figuring out their run game and beating the Cowboys, who aren't good, but I could still see. I'm taking the Titans in this to at least cover -6.5, but I think they can win this outright.
Yeah, and I will say it's definitely encouraging to see some signs of life for that offense. I think offensive coordinator Matt LaFleur finally is getting the guys like to click in his system. It's definitely good for Deion Lewis. Hopefully it'll be good for the wide receivers at some point. But this is one of the picks that I feel least confident in. If I had to allocate any money on this, I'd probably just kind of save it and put it on another team, like maybe the Panthers or probably the Chiefs, honestly, who I would bet every week if I could. Anyway, let's look at the Dolphins taking on the Packers at Lambeau. So the Packers are going to be favored there by a heavy margin. It's 9.5. I don't really see the Packers being underdogs at home to almost anyone, just based on the strength of their home field advantage. So regardless, these teams are both not as good as their record suggests. The Packers are like a two-man show with Rodgers and Devontae Adams. Yeah, Marquez Valdez-Scantling has been good lately, but 3 catches last week, so you can't go nuts. Aaron Jones is definitely a nice top play against this Dolphins defense, but I don't know. I don't think this is a stay away game for me as well. I would pick the Packers, I think, to win and cover, but the Dolphins they're a weird team. They're impossible for me to read because one week they look like world beaters, the next week they're laying an egg. I don't know. What do you think of this matchup, Scott?
Yeah, I have the Packers to cover, but I'm kind of going back on my answer right now because I think losing HaHa Clinton-Dix hurts them a lot more than they realize, and they keep on getting rid of these pieces in their secondary. And yeah, they have some pieces that they've drafted. Forget the guy's name. It's a weird. They have a lot
Jair
of weird,
Alexander. He's good.
Jair. Yep, he's really good. He didn't have a good game against the Patriots, obviously, with Josh Gordon. I think he was shadow covering him. But they keep on losing these pieces to their secondary, and it's kind of crazy. Their defense has never been good, and they could have a dynasty here, and they just never do with McCarthy and that defense. So I think Dom Capers was the defensive coordinator up until like 2 years ago, and just never put it together. Anyway, I think Kenyon Drake is a great play here. I think he'll get back on track. However, I'm really pissed that I got sucked into it. He got 3 carries for 9 yards, and that could be a Kenyon Drake game.
Yep.
Like, that's very well what it could be every single week. So you just have to know that going in. I think he's going to have a good game. He's like, James White light, and White just lit up the Packers. And if you want to think about Cordarrelle Patterson as like Frank Gore is like a deep league, pretty good play here, I think. So I have the Packers to cover. I actually think it'll be closer than it's 9.5. I might take the Dolphins to cover. I guess, is that how you say it? Dolphins to cover? Yeah.
I will.
It's pretty new to this whole game, but
for me, like the reason this is would be like a stay away game, I would not bet on this game is because the number is way too high for the Packers, but you can't put money on Brock Osweiler and feel good about it. So you're just you're not betting that game.
This is true. We just talk about the Packers names though. Aquinius St. Brown, Marcus Valdez-Scantling, Jerry Alexander. I didn't even say any of them right, but they are top names in football.
Oh yeah, put them right up there with Kendrick Bourne, and then we're talking.
Jesus Christ!
All right, let's look at the Redskins going to Tampa to take on the Bucs. The Bucs are favored by 2.5, so essentially a field goal there. This is kind of a fun matchup. You actually kind of dig it. I agree. Fitzmagic makes this team a lot of fun because honestly, I like heavy sigh when I think about Jameis Winston. So having Fitzmagic there makes me just feel much better about watching the Bucs. That being said, they're kind of a mess. Yes, their offense puts up points, but they're not well coached. Dirk Cutter is definitely on the hot seat, and their defense is atrocious. Like there's some bad defenses here. Bad defenses this year. They might be the worst. They might be worse than the Chiefs.
Worse than the Bengals.
Yeah,
they're up there.
They're not stopping a nosebleed. And I think, obviously I like Mike Evans in a bounce back game this week. We talked last week about how like Julio was going to dunk on the Redskins secondary, which he did, and so did.
Great call.
Sanu should have had a touchdown. He kind of dove and missed it by like an inch. And then Calvin Ridley also got in the end zone. So I really like the Bucs passing offense in this game. However, I don't think they're the Redskins are not an elite offense, but they're, the Bucs are not even going to slow them down. I think just based on the strength of coaching here, I think Jay Gruden's a good coach. Alex Smith is, fine. He's above average. I don't think the Redskins lose this game to the Bucs. I think they at least cover that field goal spread. This is like a 1-point game, and I think I like the Redskins here.
Interesting. So I think the way this game is going to go, this is what I'm envisioning. The Redskins are going to run AP 15 times in the first half.
Yep.
He's gonna break off a couple big runs. He's gonna limp into the end zone all day long. That dude is a monster alien combo. I love it. He's one of my favorite players. He's back, but the other skill positions, Reed is uninspiring this year. Defense is cushy, so he's like an okay play, but he's questionable again. Big surprise. Wide receivers, Doxson, you're not doing anything with. The one guy, what's the guy's name? The slot guy, not Crowder. He filled in for Crowder. I'll look it up as I'm
Maurice Harris.
going through. Maurice Harris, yeah, he was pretty good. He had like 10 catches last week. So deep league plug in there, but yeah, this is a really good matchup. So I think the way it's going to go is all day is going to run through this defense in the first half. They're going to be up by 2 touchdowns. The Fitzy will get them into a little early game hole with an interception, which he usually does. Those safeties are 2 of the best in the league, and obviously they didn't stop anything with the Falcons, but the Falcons are surging now. So I think they'll get 1 or 2 picks in the beginning, and then Fitzy second half will bring his magic and bring the team back. And I have the Bucs to cover. I think they're going to win this game, but it might take a second half resurgence by Ryan Fitzpatrick.
And I'm flipping. I don't love the Redskins offense, and I really think they're going to start to fade. The more I think about it, the less I like their chances. And I mean, the Bucs, they let up a huge lead to the Panthers, and they came back on them. So I don't see the Redskins really stopping them in the same situation. So you know what? You changed my mind. I'm flipping to the Bucs here.
Nice. I like that. I'm just a salesman at heart, aren't I?
All right, and that wraps up Week 10 preview. Oh my God, episode 43. There was a lot of hype for this episode. We had a shit ton of mailbags.
Keep them coming.
Remember, keep those coming. Follow us on Instagram, Unqualified FF on Instagram, and hit us in the DMs. Watch for those stories, because we're going to start answering some mailbag questions that can't make it to the show on Instagram and Twitter, wherever you can send them. On top of that, don't forget to leave us a review, because the more reviews we get, the more visible we're going to be in iTunes, more listeners, we're going to get more mailbags, and then maybe we'll give something away, I keep saying that over and over again, but nobody listens to me, and I'm getting pissed. All right? So leave us a goddamn review.
Royally pissed.
Please leave us a review. Anyways, we love you guys.
You cuties.
Tune in. Watch this weekend for some more mailbag stuff, because we will be posting that on the story.
Find us in the channels.
Get ready for some hashtag heavy breathing and hashtag cutie Tuesday.
Got
I don't know what
Fieri
that is,
references.
but we'll make something up.
You cuties.
Well,
see you later.
See you later.
See you later.